Hey fam, it's Teresa here, and I'm back, but I'm back from my kitchen this time. And I'm here to share with you my cooking tips and tricks today. Welcome to my kitchen. Cooking has been a huge tradition in my family. I started cooking as a child with my mom and my grandmother. As a teen, I lived with my grandparents and my mom, so it was 3 generations cooking in the kitchen. We created recipes without having recipes. So the recipe that I'm bringing you today is Teresa's Caprese salad. However, I never officially had a recipe written. So what I did for you is I wrote the recipe so you can have that for yourselves too. So what I'm gonna do today is create Teresa's Caprese salad for you on a video, but then give you the recipe as well. Let's get started. I've lined up all the ingredients you'll need, and you'll see it's very simple. Extra virgin olive oil, dried basil, garlic powder, balsamic vinegar, a balsamic glaze. Then for the fresh ingredients, fresh basil, so you can grab it from your garden or right from the grocery store, get a plant. Tomatoes, I suggest get the ripest tomato. Mozzarella cheese, and I suggest get the fresh mozzarella. First, when I make Teresa's Caprese salad, I like to start with the fresh ingredients, cutting them and getting them ready. I'm going to start with basil, and I'm gonna take my basil plant and I'm just gonna break them right at the base of the leaf and just make a pile on my cutting board here of fresh basil. We're gonna use the whole leaf, we're not gonna cut them for the recipe. So you're just taking all the good leaves off. And then what I'm gonna do after I've got all the leaves taken off that I want to use in my recipe is I'm gonna just lightly rinse the leaves and pat them dry with a paper towel. The fragrant smell of fresh basil is just delicious. I love to use fresh basil. You can get fresh basil at almost any grocery store. I typically get mine at Martin's, which is a local grocery store, like a Giant. It's part of the Giant food chain. They have fresh basil. You can get a plant for about $2.99. Another thing that you can do, another tip is buy a fresh basil plant. They start to come out like beginning of May at Home Depot, and plant it in a pot and start an herb garden on your porch. Now that I picked all the basil leaves off, I'm gonna put them in my bowl and I'm gonna go rinse them, and I'll be right back. So the next fresh ingredient I'm gonna use are tomatoes. I typically pick the ripest tomatoes. One of my favorite tomatoes to use is tomatoes on the vine, but they didn't look as ripe as the Roma tomatoes, so I grabbed the Roma tomatoes at Aldi's. So I have 2 pounds of tomatoes here, and I have a couple different knives here, a paring knife, a steak knife, a regular chef knife. You can choose whatever knife you like to use. I'm gonna pick my paring knife. First, I'm gonna cut out the tip of the tomato here. If your knife easily goes into the tomato cutting and you don't have to use a lot of strength, your knife is sharp enough. But if it's causing you a lot of strength to cut the tomato, you need to sharpen your knife. We're gonna do 1/2-inch slices of the Roma tomato. As I cut the tomatoes, I'm gonna place them in a dish because I'm gonna go to my platter and I'm gonna alternate mozzarella cheese, tomato, basil in a moment. My next fresh ingredient we're going to use is the fresh mozzarella. And I have 2 8-ounce chunks of fresh mozzarella. You're going to use 16 ounces total. I love to get this from Aldi's. It's like $2.39 at Aldi's for 8 ounces. We're gonna cut this mozzarella cheese in about 1/4-inch slices. I love the mozzarella cheese because it's a nice, mild cheese, and you can taste all the great flavors of all the fresh ingredients. This is a big favorite in the Von Regan household too. My kids love to just take a chunk of mozzarella cheese and eat it. And they're definitely known for coming and grabbing a slice when I'm making this dish. I love to eat it too. One tip I'll give you is some of the larger slices I slice in half so that you have enough pieces to alternate with the tomatoes, especially since we're using the smaller Roma tomatoes, which are a smaller circular shaped tomato. Now we're gonna get started with the dressing. I'm gonna make my fabulous homemade balsamic and oil dressing to put over the salad. This dressing is packed with flavor. It's the perfect mixture of that robust olive oil with that acidic flavor from the balsamic vinegar to that warm flavor of the garlic. We'll start with a 1/2 cup of balsamic vinegar. So I'm just gonna pour my balsamic vinegar into my Mickey Mouse measuring cup. We love Disney in our house. And you're gonna use a 1/2 cup of that balsamic vinegar. Then I'm gonna take a 1/4 cup of olive oil. It's great to use extra virgin olive oil, or my favorite is avocado oil. I'm out of that right now, but you can get avocado oil at Costco. A nice big bottle of it is a great value at Costco. So we're using a 1/4 cup of that extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil. Then we're gonna take basil leaves, so dried basil leaves. Again, I like to get these big jars of herbs at Costco. It's a great value for your herbs. I'm gonna use a teaspoon of the fresh basil. So you can just put that in there. Dump your teaspoon of fresh basil. I'm gonna use a tablespoon of garlic powder. I love the garlic in this dressing because the acidity of the balsamic vinegar, the garlic gives it that nice warm undertone to the dressing. Next, what I'm gonna do is whisk all 4 of these ingredients together. You'll notice we have one ingredient still to the side. This is a finishing ingredient, so we'll finish with that in a moment. So you're gonna take a whisk and whisk all of your good ingredients together, that garlic powder, the dried basil, the balsamic and oil. And I have this really cute pottery dressing jar that I'm gonna pour this in because it then pours over the salad much easier. So now that I have everything whisked together, I'm gonna pour it into my dressing container. I like this little teeny whisk because it fits right in here perfectly as well. And I leave the whisk in here because right before I pour this onto my salad, I give it a whisk again. Now is the fun part where you get to put all your hard work together. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna alternate the ingredients on the platter. So you're gonna create a pattern as we learned in kindergarten. We're gonna take a tomato and then a piece of mozzarella and then a piece of basil, and then we're gonna keep doing that. It's nice to show the basil so you can see the green, all the different beautiful colors. When you get to a bigger basil leaf, you can tear it in half to make sure that you have enough basil to alternate. We're gonna go ahead and fill this whole platter up, and then finish it with the dressing, salt, pepper, and glaze. So we just finished arranging our beautiful Teresa's Caprese platter. You can see. I do want you to take note, because we used Aroma tomatoes that I said earlier were a smaller tomato, we do have extra tomatoes. If you would use a larger tomato, you wouldn't have as much left over. Now I'm going to take the dressing that we made earlier and whisk it right before we put it over top of the Caprese salad. Then I'm going to pour it row by row. So you can see I'm pouring it row by row. And you can even go back a little bit. Then I like to finish with the balsamic glaze. You can get this at Trader Joe's. It's called Trader Giotto's glaze. And you're just gonna drizzle it back and forth vertically, and then I drizzle it back and forth horizontally. You can see this looks beautiful, but it's not quite our finished product. We have one more step. The last step is to finish with fresh ground pepper and Himalayan salt. So I'm gonna use my fresh ground pepper shaker. I don't like to use a lot of pepper. I'm gonna grind the pepper over. Just using a minimal amount of pepper because everybody doesn't like a high level of spice. Then we're gonna use our pink Himalayan salt. Himalayan salt is a salt that's better for you than your average salt. Why is it better for you? Because it comes from the Himalayan mountains that stretch across Asia. And it has extra minerals in this salt. And these extra minerals, if you look on Saltroom LV for saltroomlasvegas.com, it'll tell you some of the extra benefits of Himalayan salt. It helps with muscle cramps, it helps balance out the pH in your skin, it increases hydration, amongst many more things that you can check out on saltroomlv.com. Your guests can add more salt and pepper if they like more peppery flavor or more salty flavor. My last tip is, if you want to half this recipe, meaning cut it in half, you could do a smaller platter, such as this platter, and have it for you and maybe your significant other or your spouse, or for a party of 4 appetizer. In my family, we're a family of 7, so we always go with the platter and the full recipe. Friends, fam, I promise you, if you make this for your next picnic or your next gathering, you will be the star of the show. It is a quick and easy recipe, but delicious. I like to serve it with tongs and a spoon so you can get some of that juice, that extra dressing onto each serving. So let's dive in and taste how our finished product is. Delicious, savory, wonderful. Thanks for tuning in to watch how to make Teresa's Caprese salad. The recipe will be in the description and in the comment box. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like, and comment with what recipes you want to see next. I'm excited to come to you with my cooking recipes regularly. Bye for now, fam.